All right, live. Oh man, Irish Rover, you're first in there, buddy. Let me know if you can hear me. As soon as I get confirmation that you can hear me, we get a couple people. I'll go ahead and get us started. This is going to be a good one, Irish. I hope you enjoy it. I hope everybody enjoys this one because um, good stuff coming, man. This is really excellent. I'm so happy you're here, Irish. Appreciate you coming on in and glad you could join. Like I said, let me know if you can hear me. If you can, that would be awesome. Let me type here. Can you hear me? Otherwise, I'm going to start singing, and nobody wants that at all. Nobody wants me to sing at all. So unless unless uh oh wow, okay. Moms can hear you. Well, of course you can hear me, moms. I'm asking if Irish can hear me. That's the big thing. Rochelle, can you hear me? Oh, in both places. Okay, we're good to go then. Good to hear from you. What's up, Biggie and Bean? Uh, I can hear you. Diesel says, strange and unusual. Unusual. Have you seen me? Yes, we can hear you. Okay, crap, we can hear him. All right, Ellie, knock it off. All right, guys, let's get started here. All righty, everybody. Welcome to the MLH channel. This is a very special edition here, a very special show. Let me go ahead and bring up our guest tonight. There's a small buzz starting, a small little snowball starting. But with me tonight is the creator of one of the most incredible videos I've ever seen on YouTube, no hyperbole. It's Mom's Wholesome Videos. Sir, how are you tonight?
Absolutely fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I was super excited to do this. You have created, like I said, and in my opinion, it's not hyperbole. A great video called "The Copstitution." What prompted you to make this video?
Well, so I guess it was about a week ago, Saturday night, I was in Hippie's panel. It was pretty late at night. And one of the guys in the chat room had said to Hippie, and I forget who it was, and I mean to go back and find out, but he said to Hippie, I want to hear you shout at him, it's the Constitution, not the Copstitution. And I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh, I love that. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
Did you make that up? And he said, no, he thinks a guy named Lobe, Lobe. So if anybody knows Lobe, if you can point him in my direction, and I owe him some citation credit on that, and I will put it in there. But he gave me the idea for the Constitution, and the next morning I woke up and I thought the Constitution and the Bill of Wrongs.
Yeah.
So the Bill of Wrongs was mine, and I had when I was a kid there used to be a cartoon called Conjunction Junction where they would talk about the Constitution and it would be like, we the people in order to form a more perfect union, and they went through the preamble, and I had that tune in my head, and I was just like thinking about the Constitution with that tune in my head, and about a half hour later I had it all written out on paper, the preamble, and then I picked up a copy of the Constitution. I carry a little pocket thing, and I don't. Oh, here it is. Let me come back on camera. I carry a little copy of the Constitution. So then I started going through it and looking at Article 1, Section 1, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to write the whole document and rewrite it from the perspective of a tyrant cop officer.
Hmm.
You know, like what they do, and I mean, it only took me about an hour to really come up with the whole thing. It probably took me about 8 hours to get it into PowerPoint because I'm not really a good artist in terms of creating documentation,
Sure.
and then getting it into Power Director 365, giving them a shout out.
Yeah.
Um, the it was really tough for me because I kept on trying to upload it and it wouldn't render and that almost made it fatal. But I was like, nah, this is too good not to at least try. And
Yeah.
fortunately, I came out with it. A couple people saw it, and then Ellie picked it up. She saw it and started spreading the word to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and that the
Yeah.
rest is history.
It's an excellent video, and we'll get to it here in just a second. Diesel, welcome on in. Miss Libby's in there, King Solomon, and of course the lovely Ellie is in there. I am happy. What's up? Nice to have you in there. Um, it's an incredible video. The thing that I got from what you just said is I was really hoping you wouldn't give Hippie all the credit for creating the video because then his head would get too big and it would I mean we would never hear the end of it. Ms. Libby, what's up? Nice to have you in there. Um,
Well, I do know Hippie didn't even realize it because when I told him that I've got it out of somebody in this chat room, he was like, "Oh, I must have missed it. I'll have to go back and look." Because I'm like, "Yeah, I don't remember who it was." So
Yeah, like I said, it's just an incredible video. Ellie has put the link in. I'm going to be playing it here in just a second. It's about roughly almost a 4 minute video, so it's not this lengthy thing that you guys cannot watch. And I would highly suggest at least watching it once or twice. And think about that phrase. It's the Constitution, not the Copstitution. So. Without further ado, moms, let me before I do that. Where did you get the name Mom's Wholesome Videos?
okay, so I used to go by the Constitution Matters, and being real sensitive to like people who took offense to it, thinking that I was making a mockery of Black Lives Matter or anything like that. And I was like, you know what? I don't look to offend anybody. I'll change it. And I thought, let me make a channel and to be a tribute to my mother. So I wanted something with my mom's name in it, Mom's.
Yeah.
And Wholesome Video came from back in 1975. Bruce Springsteen played at the Main Point in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, which is near where I grew up. And the people who did the audio were Mom's Wholesome Audio, and they actually had a bootleg album called "You Can Trust Your Car to the Man Who Wears a Star." Was the name of the bootleg album, if anybody has it. But Ed Shockey gave a shout out to Mom's Wholesome Audio in that during that show, and I just remember that being like, that's really a cool name, Mom's Wholesome Audio, and
Yeah,
it stuck with me. That was 1975,
it's really
and
cool.
so I just changed it to Mom's Wholesome Video.
Well, it's a fantastic name, and coupled with a fantastic video, you got something really good going on here. Without further ado, I'm going to present to everybody, and feel free to share this. I hope you don't mind me saying that, moms.
Yeah, it's fine. I got this on here. I put that on there just it's something somebody had sent me a long time ago saying, hey, if you're going to have any video you think that's going to pop, do that. He said it'll tend to keep people from it, but I'm more interested in letting this get out because I don't need the fame and fortune or anything like
Yeah,
that.
well,
I'd rather people be able to use this and make change.
yeah, I agree. But you definitely deserve the credit. So, like I said, without further ado, here is the Constitution of Bad Cops and the Bill of Wrongs. This is Mom's Wholesome Videos. Here we go. I like the little Star Wars outro. Pretty awesome. They're mom's wholesome videos, in what can only be described as one of the greatest videos on YouTube, especially within this 1A community that we call a community. So I want to be one of the first to say, just, you know, awesome. And I appreciate you making that video. I think I speak for a lot of people when I say, without hyperbole, it's just one of the greatest videos on YouTube. Couple things I wanted to point out. There's a point in the video that you bring up morality, and I've talked about morality and policing quite a bit. Whenever I very rarely do these panels, moms, but when I do, I always like to talk about mental health. That's kind of my thing, mental health awareness and stuff like that. But one of the things that I see missing from policing in this country is morality and integrity. Can you talk a little bit about why you included that in your wonderful video there?
Because it probably goes back to the lackluster video that brought me into this community when I watched what happened to Karen Gardner.
Uh-huh.
And I'm thinking how anybody could be that rough with somebody so fragile and have such disdain for humanity that you could do that. It's like it goes beyond the law, whether you're, what I mean, as a human being. Uh, I'm getting emotional just thinking about that, and that happens more and more. And you see, like, where a cop, because he's having a bad day, uh, and you don't comply with him, and all of a sudden now he's ruining your life. I mean, and some people, like, they're losing their job, their family, their homes, their livelihoods. It's just how, over what, your ego? I don't know. I mean, my I like to think that I'm important, but not that important, and
Right, right.
I don't know how people can do it.
It's super interesting. You mentioned Karen Gardner. I actually went up to Loveland with I think I was with the police 719,
Hmm.
and of course I took Bernie B, my girlfriend, up there as well, and we kind of went to the area where she was. I mean, it was just that whole scenario was just heartbreaking, like you said. And every time I think about it, I kind of get choked up too, because how can you take? I mean, I don't care color of skin, right? This was a white woman that had dementia, and
Hmm.
she was what, like 70? I think she was 74. I think,
74.
yeah, 74 years old. Um, and the he, not only the fact that she got her arm taken out of her socket, and I believe fractured as well,
Hmm.
but after the fact, you saw the video of the cops just laughing about it, right?
Right.
And that's what got me even worse. Like
Right.
it's not, it's bad enough you took this elderly person and with dementia, and caused her even more trauma, and may have like lessened her life in the process, but you laughed about it, right? And that's the character that we think about and stuff like that. And it's just ridiculous. And there's no shortage of stories like this, whether
Hmm.
it's Karen Gardner, or in my case it was when I was 16 years old and got a gun pulled on me because a cop thought I thought I was smoking marijuana, which I definitely was not at the time.
Hmm.
I was with a black friend of mine at the time, and we were getting out of a club and just getting into our car. I mean, things like that really set the public against policing. Has that been your kind of perception of things, moms? Has anything happened in your life or has just this been observation from afar?
Well, at one point in my life, I wore a three-piece patch, so I know all about police discrimination and brutality, and being pulled over for my safety. because of my helmet. I was against helmet laws back then, and I had a little plastic helmet. And I'm like, oh, okay, so you're chasing me at 70 mile an hour to catch up to me on a motorcycle because I passed you wearing a hat that you thought didn't, wasn't safe. Don't you think that, like, you coming up behind me and chasing me and making me anxious that, like, I got a cop chasing me,
Yeah.
um, is more dangerous than anything I'm going to do to myself riding down the highway, with a plastic helmet on? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not hurting anybody. What's your problem? And then they would, because I had colors, they would come and photograph me. And, I don't have tattoos or anything like that, but, they'd be like like looking for tattoos. And I'm like, is this necessary? I mean, what do you got me for? Speeding?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wearing a helmet? What is this? And
Well,
it was routine.
it's that whole no victim, no crime thing, right?
Right.
I mean, if there's no victim, then what are you bothering me or anybody else for? It's gotten to such a police state that cops are just making up their own. And that's another point you made in here that was pretty poignant too. We could just make up the rules as we go along. I think I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember the words word for word, but maybe we'll go over it in a little bit. But from my experience, it's been you know, it's uh it's kind of heartbreaking to see them make up the rules as they go along.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It just
Rules for thee, not for me.
exactly.
And
Let me
I'm a
get
Libra. I'm a Libra in terms of my horoscope. So whether that is real or imagined, but it has an influence on you because when you're little, people tell you about it and you relate to it. So I'm about fairness. You know what I mean? It's like you
yeah,
you
yeah.
you don't bother me, I won't bother you.
Yeah, and that's the way it
Uh,
should be. Like most, I have this theory, Mom's Wholesome videos, and maybe you can speak on this. I truly believe that most people are good, right? We wouldn't be
mm-hmm,
here as a society, 8 billion people in the world strong, 600 or I'm sorry, 350 million in the United States. We wouldn't be that much people if we were mostly good. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So the cops always thinking that we're the. I mean, Irish Rover here put it really good in chat. He said, "I'll say it again: the tyrants see us as the enemy, not as citizens." And
Right.
and it's true. I can't remember who was talking to me about some inside information they had on at the academy. Maybe it was KDOT, but they were saying that the first thing that these guys are taught when they're in the academy is that we're the enemy. They've already set up an adversarial
Mm-hmm.
kind of relationship with the public, and that's exactly the opposite of how it really should be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're a long way from Andy Griffith and Mayberry RFD.
Right, right. And
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Back in those days, it was actually less safe to be a cop, right? And it's like now being a police officer, it's probably one of the more safer jobs because of things like qualified immunity, which you talked about in your video.
Mm-hmm.
And no punishment whatsoever. Now, Colorado's a little different. We pretty much did away with qualified immunity, but it still has not changed the way that they handle business, especially in Aurora and most parts of Denver, District 4 being
Mm-hmm.
one of the biggest offenders of being uh, less than savory. Let's put it that way.
Can I plug something? The
Yeah,
American
absolutely.
Justice Institute for the Institute for Justice Americans Against Qualified Immunity. If I can encourage people to look that up and join, get the stickers, plaster them everywhere. Anybody who wants to argue that qualified immunity makes the streets safer, I say to you, then why don't we give it to the truck drivers? Nobody would argue that telling a truck driver that he doesn't have to look in his mirror unless uh, a truck already was there and something obvious. Why do they need to be protected from negligence?
Right.
I mean, I'm okay with giving them a little bit, but it's a blanket and they use it knowing it ain't going to touch me. And anytime you take liability away from people, you take responsibility away from them too.
Absolutely, 100%. How do you feel? How do you feel about defunding the police? Because there's thought out there that maybe defunding the police is it might be a good way to go.
No. So my take on the police themselves. So do they need all the funds they get? Maybe not. In some areas, you know, that they're number one, we need to change a couple things. One, first and foremost, you got to get rid of qualified immunity. Second, they should not be able to keep the funds of the people that they persecute. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they should not be able to target a drug dealer and go after him because, hey, I can go plant drugs on him and take his house, and now we're driving around in Humvees instead of Volkswagen buses as police officers. And the third one I would be is we need to get rid of the ability for them to tell lies when they're investigating non-felonies.
Oh,
So I
this
mean,
is this is a
okay.
great point, Mom. That right there, I think has hurt the reputation of cops more than they know. You know, when you are able to interrogate and lie at
Mm-hmm.
without repercussion, I think
Mm-hmm.
that kind of ruined things. You know, I mean, you see these detective shows where you know you know it's really dramatized, where the cops are like telling feeding people a bunch of bullshit, and it's not too far from the real thing. If you look at shows like 48 Hours Later and a lot of these cop actual reality type shows where they show actual um, interrogations, they use a lot of unsavory tactics. And one of the tactics that I've always had a problem with is lying, because if
Mm-hmm.
you lie, then you could potentially force a false confession, which does nobody any good. It doesn't do the victims any good. You know, if you're putting away the wrong people based on your lies, are you
Mm-hmm.
really doing a good job? You know?
Not at all.
Yeah, not at all. So that's actually a really really good point. What do you think about the training? I mean, we talked about the first thing that they're taught is it's us against them. You know, would you rather get killed or would you rather be the one doing the killing type thing? I mean, I think it's morally incomprehensible to shoot first and ask questions later.
Well, so part of it would be to let's tone down the temperature. Like, you know, I mean, if the water's boiling, you know, I mean, let's cool the water temperature down. So why is it so dangerous? Why is the world so crazy? And part of it is that, you know, it's that us against them mentality. I mean, you know, like if people can't trust the police, okay, they're going to be against them. No
Right,
organization that uses lying as a tactic can call itself an honorable or a profession.
right, right. 100%. I think it was Gonzalez versus Castle Rock,
Mm-hmm.
which is just south of Denver here, where the court basically determined that lying was a okay and kosher, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it's incomprehensible that we as a society allow that. Like, how can we allow them to lie without some sort of repercussion? You know, it should be the opposite. You know, if you're caught lying as a cop, you could be punished, yeah,
Correct.
for it. You know, up to and including termination and maybe criminal charges.
I'm not
And
allowed to lie in my job.
right, I mean, what job do you know where you can lie and you get caught and it's like, oh, it's like a great thing. You know, here anywhere else, you'd be fired, right? I mean,
Well, there's a slippery slope. Okay, so it starts out with the end justifies the means. We're stopping murderers. Okay, yeah, all right. But then it starts getting to like the end justifies the means. I need
yes,
overtime. Okay, around here where I live, overtime is paid when the cop goes to court.
yep,
Okay,
yep,
so now if I'm a cop, all right, and it's Christmas time and overtime's a little slow and they're not really giving it out, well, hey man, I write a bunch of tickets where you're blowing red lights and you're blowing them obviously, and you're not going to fight them. You're going to pay them. I'm not going to get any overtime. But you know
yeah,
what? If I pull you over for something stupid like a blinker light ad, you're going to come to court and fight it. And guess what? I'm going to get paid time and a half to sit in the courtroom and talk to the secretaries and the lawyers and the court clerks and chit chat, as opposed to getting possibly called out to a bar fight and getting my teeth knocked out because,
Yep.
I ran in and somebody was half drunk and knocked me out. So
Yep.
that's one of the things is we've got to stop incentivizing the police officer because they're gonna act in their economic best interest.
Ooh, that's another great point. I always said that it was insanity for rewarding police officers for the amount of arrests that they make, right? A
Mm-hmm.
lot of our officers are promoted based on the amount of arrests or tickets that they issue. And I actually think it should be the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should get promoted on the least amount of arrests that you make. I think that would probably make you a rare good good candidate to be promoted to corporal or sergeant or field commander officer or whatever they want to call you. The other
Mm-hmm.
problem is the militarization. Uh, mili-
Right.
Militarization of I'm probably saying that completely
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Close enough. We know what
Close
you mean.
enough. Of the police in the United States. I mean, I just went to an event here in Aurora where we were looking at their SWAT vehicles, and they were actually like military vehicles, right? And they were
Mm-hmm.
all wearing these like military vests, and I know they have the military helmets and stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't instill a lot of confidence in the public either when you're going into situations looking like you're the army. You know what I mean? So, it's uh, pretty jarring when you see that. I'm going to read this comment here in chat. Let's see, what do we got here? What about the CIA and FBI and any government installation, MLH? Those jobs pay folks to lie nonstop unless telling a partial truth helps their agenda. Yeah, no, it goes with the entire government, Ed. I mean, you let lying go on, and then it becomes an institution of lies. And how can you trust an institution of lies? So. Uh,
And the other thing, Emil, is the proliferation of what we're seeing. Okay, so now like if if the Karen Gardner situation was an anomaly, like one in a million, okay, but what we're seeing now is people are picking up cameras and walking down the street, and every night, I mean, like you go on YouTube and weekly, you're seeing at least one really, really horrible video, and that's just what we're seeing where the camera's there. Think of all the times that they're not, and like I don't go and say all cops are bad because I don't judge what team you play on. I judge how you play on the field, and
yeah.
I want you to play fair. So like I use an analogy if we were betting on a baseball game or a basketball game, say, and I'm a Sixers fan and you're a Lakers fan or something like that, and the guy goes up to the foul line, and me and you have a bet for $100, and the guy, like I see him and he cheats, okay, I won because he cheated, he
Yeah.
got his
Yeah.
3-point free. Could I in good conscience take?
Yeah.
He's going to make me pay, or going to pay me, and I might take it from the bookie, but I'm not going to take it from you.
Right.
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 We're getting an echo on your end.
Yeah, my headphone came out when I
Okay.
moved it. Hold on a second.
No problem.
I just got to hit this button and put it back into my headset.
Okay.
There we
No
go.
problem.
Should be good now.
Yeah, we're good, I think. Diesel said the correct due process, see the magistrate before you see jail. I couldn't agree more. But right before that, you made the point of them, like what I was saying, integrity and character and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think another real problem of the police force is the training, right? Here in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado, it's like 6 months of training, and you can become an officer. In foreign countries, like I know I believe it's the Netherlands, you actually need a 4 year training before you're even given consideration to be a cop. What do you feel about maybe giving police a bit more training than say 6 months? In some places, I've heard it's as little as 6 weeks.
Well, I mean, you know, in terms of requirements and having some a little bit more knowledge and education. I mean, if you're going to have the power to go out and restrict somebody's freedom, okay, and potentially violate their rights in a horrendous way, you should be aware of that. So, the cops should be trained. It's like in my line of work, if I make mistakes, I mean, I can't go, sorry, oh yeah, I just, and it may be like a math error or something because I'm in the finance industry. But if I make mistakes, I can't just go, oh, I'm sorry, I mean, so there should be consequences. And the cops like, oh, well, he didn't know. Well, then why the hell is he out there enforcing a law if they don't understand it?
Yeah.
You know?
And another that's a great
Sorry,
And another, that's a great
no,
point.
we're
We're
catching the echo
catching
again.
the info again.
Sorry, I pulled
That's
the,
all right.
I keep blowing my and pulling the headphone out of the plug jack. Sorry.
No worries. No worries at all. You know, I I have this theory that if in the United States we're a very punitive nation, right? We want
Mm-hmm.
retribution for crimes, right? If that's the case, if it actually works, which I don't believe it does, because we have one of the highest recidivism rates in the entire
Mm-hmm.
world when it comes to being put back in jail. That's what I mean by recidivism. So if you're thinking that the punishments should be staunch and should fit the crimes, why don't we double the penalty for cops when they commit crimes? So in other words, if a cop is speeding, for instance, and the fine is, I don't know, $200, why shouldn't it be $400 for a cop? Why shouldn't if a cop ends up raping a woman and the minimum sentence is 10 years, why shouldn't the minimum sentence be 20 years for a cop?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about stiffer sentences for police when they do crimes and are convicted of crimes through due process?
Well, I think because they hold a position of public trust, that should be an enhancement
Right.
in sentencing to them. So, like if a cop goes out and commits drinking and driving, uh, because of the fact that he's going to hurt not only society but all the people that he's arrested for drunk driving, if the cases are still pending, he may not be able to prosecute them. So he's making society even more unsafe.
Right.
So, I wouldn't have a problem with enhancing penalties. I watched a video today, Queen City News, about the soccer player. And in one point of the video, the cop, when he found out who she was, he goes, I hate myself now.
Yeah.
I don't want to be famous. And I'm thinking, dude, you should, if you're a cop, okay, you should be more worried about being fair, being honest, having integrity, and not worry about fame and fortune. Because, if you want to be famous, then pick up a guitar and go sing
Yeah.
at Live Aid or something like that and
Right,
become
right. No
famous.
doubt, no doubt. Blue Unicorn said, I was thinking about this earlier. In Animal Farm, the pigs were politicians, the dogs were the cops. But from what I know, pigs shoot dogs, so I'm confused. Yeah, it's a weird conundrum, right? Right, Blue Unicorn. When we allow others to rule, we succumb to their treachery. I think there's a lot to that too, Fab Daddy. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of us are picking up cameras and getting out there and recording. We
Mm-hmm.
believe in freedom. I know in the United States it's kind of an illusion of freedom, but nonetheless, there are people that are out there trying to protect those freedoms. So I never understood like bootlickers, right? I don't understand why they're so upset when we do what we do. I mean, we're not like a lot of us are not trying to antagonize. As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. I'll go out there and I'll record, and I'll usually wait unless I know the cop is a complete tyrant, right? That there are a few out there, like I can
Mm-hmm.
name a few in Denver and a few in Aurora that I'll just let them have it right at the beginning because I already know the deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'll usually wait until they make a mistake, and then that's when I get upset. And then people wonder why cop watchers get upset. They wonder why the public is upset when a lot of this treachery is going on.
Absolutely.
Uh, they keep cops in policy and keep them out of law determination. Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum, isn't it, Diesel? Like I said, I mean, I honestly think they should know the law before they um, before they enforce it, right? So I don't think 4 years is out of the question. For us to get a degree in any specialized field, and that's just the start, it takes 4 years to get a bachelor's, right? Bachelor of Arts in anything, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, or anything like that. Um, let's see. What did you sample, Blue Unicorn? Oh, the Mom's Wholesome video. Let's get to talking about your video again, Moms. Like, I noticed that a lot of the language inside your video was very law-like, right? I know you said you went through the Constitution, but did you have any law training, or are you up to date on the laws? Like, how did you reword your constitution in a way that made it really lend it some legitimacy?
All right, so I'm going to give a shout out to my alma mater, Widener University School of Law.
Yeah.
Uh, I I I went to law school for 2.5 years at night on a 4-year program when my company would pay for tuition, and they canceled the program in the middle of my degree. So I never finished, but I remember I remember at the time when I was going, and I talked to a judge, and he said, if you're smart, you're only going to take the first 2 years. He said, because after the second year, they just start teaching you about specialized stuff, and he goes, and that's when you get too big of an ego. He says the first 2 years is when they teach you how to do all the analytics, the research, the negotiation tactics and skills, and then when you get to your final years is when you get into like specialty law of different things like family law or criminal law or whatever. So
Right.
yeah, I do have a background in law. I'm pretty good at doing legal research. Anybody who has questions about, like, oh my God, where do I start? Um, I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to it because it is time consuming. But if people send emails to me with like what you've been charged with, I'll try to look some of the stuff up.
Yeah, yeah. Fab Daddy said, "Did you serve in the
In the
military?"
military, no, I
Yes.
did not.
Okay.
So again, when I graduated high school, I was all my friends were going into the Navy. Jimmy Carter pardoned all the draft dodgers, and there was like a big backlash against that at the time, and I was just like, you know what, if he doesn't need people to serve, then he doesn't need me to serve, and I just did not want to serve under Jimmy Carter,
Yeah.
so I
Thank.
didn't. And
Yeah.
mhm.
Ed Hem says, "Dang, yo, this live stream feels way too organized. Impressive. Most live streams are all over the place." Ed, you'll notice I don't have a lot of live panels for good reason. A lot of drama, a lot of BS that I just don't allow on my channel. So if I have somebody on a panel, it is very structured, so as to avoid the stupid porn bombing that goes on and the drama that goes on. So, and Fab Daddy and King Solomon are talking about a video that I did with K Dot, where K Dot K Dot was doing the right thing. Sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so you'll notice
Mhm.
I have to take a drink here and there. But K Dot and I did a video where, excuse me. Well, basically the gist of it was K Dot was cop watching, right? And instead of the officers escalating things and basically just being chill, right? Not doing anything for a legally protected activity. The first thing that this cop decides to do is get within inches of K Dot's face. And I was watching the live stream at the time, and I'm like I said, K Dot's like a brother to me. And I went to that scene because I knew exactly where they were at. I was there in about 10 minutes, and I took exception to it. And those are the exceptions to those rules that I tell you when I usually wait for somebody to do something to me before. But I'm not going to let you do that to my friends either.
Mhm.
So I took exception to it, and I used a few choice words, which you know was not usually in my nature to just go off like that. But I have had an occasion or two where I felt it was necessary. Yeah, Ed says you're paying attention to the comments and in the discussion at the same time. Nice multitasking. I try to. Like I said, I don't do these panels very often, but I felt this was a super important panel to do, especially with the content. So I'm hoping that all of you subscribe to Mom's Wholesome videos. I have a feeling that this video is going to get picked up big time. Now, Moms, you have uh, broken up this video into four separate parts.
Yes, I redid it today. So some of the feedback I got from people who were watching it on phones that, with it being small, it was tough to read in that amount of time. So I broke it down. I did it in the preamble, the body of so the articles, the first five, and then the last five. So this way I could break up some of those panels that had, where there was a lot of words in it, and make them so that I could put maybe 3 sentences instead of six. And then I also changed the. My wife wasn't too happy when I did this, but I changed the soundtrack from being like a patriotic soundtrack to a pig grunting. But I'm like, she's like, well, that's kind of disrespectful because she knows. I mean, I'm not anti-cop. I'm anti-bad cop.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to defund the police or get rid of the police. I think they're a necessary evil, but it's like any power. Take electricity, for example.
I what
Okay.
actually you're kind of close to, I mean, not super close, but there was a case study in actually getting rid of the police force in Camden. I believe it was Camden, New Jersey, and it wasn't chaos like everybody thought. As a matter of fact, when they fired every single officer in Camden, things actually got better. I mean,
The state police took over.
yeah, the state police
Yeah.
took over.
Hmm.
So I think the defund the police movement isn't entirely wrong. Do I think they
Hmm.
should get rid of all of them? Most likely not, but I think you should have a more educated, which is another thing you brought up in your Constitution was logic. I believe what was the wording you used? You used intelligence and logic, and that's something that they don't care for. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of instances and a lot of police, stations where if you are too intelligent, you're not even allowed to be a cop. There's a certain cutoff on intelligence, and I'm not talking just IQ. IQ is something different than actual intelligence. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Well, you see
So
some of the people that they took. You see these cops and they look like linebackers. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
yeah.
okay, so like, yeah, maybe you need two or three of them for riot duty. You know what I mean? But like, do you really need those to be the guys pulling over grandmothers?
Yeah.
Or shoplifters?
Yeah,
Where
and
it's like crime.
another thing, do you really need six cops for a traffic stop? A lot of times I'll see somebody getting pulled over for speeding, for instance, um, and they'll have like 3 units there. I mean, is that
Hmm.
really necessary? I mean, it's intimidating. It doesn't make you look good. It slows down traffic. I mean, there's a plethora of reasons why having more than maybe one or two cops is probably not a great idea.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. So I'm not into throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm looking at it going, first of all, can we lower the temperature in the tub?
Right.
Number one. Two, can we get rid of a couple of the bad ducks who are pissing in the water? And two, another thing that I firmly believe is that they got to get rid of this blue line mentality, that like they're the thin blue line between us, and they need to broaden that line where they're working with the community to partner with the community, so it's not us against them, and that they answer. And part of what's going to happen with this cop watching movement as it grows, because uh, 2 years ago, lackluster, I wouldn't even have watched them. Seriously, I would
Yeah.
have been like,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. This guy's just a, you know, blue light, blue
An
lies.
instigator.
Yeah, like that he doesn't understand. These cops have a bad. have a tough job, but then I started watching, and I'm like, you know what? No matter how tough your job is, my job's hard too.
Right.
There's people who climb. There's people who climb into dangerous way. Firemen, for example. A lot of people have dangerous jobs. It doesn't give you a right to like become a tyrant.
Right, right. And like I said, cops' jobs have become markedly safer than, say, 50 years ago or 60 years ago, right? Um,
Well, here's a point I wanted to make too, but it's just about power.
yeah,
Okay, so unbridled power. Think of electricity. Electricity is very helpful. Nobody wants to get rid of it, right?
right.
But would you want to have the 5,000 volts coming into your house? It's dangerous. So
Right.
when you have police officers who have no circuit breakers, okay, no wire to restrict what they can do, absolute power is dangerous, and people are going to get hurt. So it's not, I mean, it's not hard to understand that. Like I don't blame the individual cops as much as there are bad cops, but the system
Right. It's more of a systemic.
feeds.
Yeah,
So like it's a breeding ground for the bad cops,
yeah,
and we need to address those kind of issues.
yeah,
One, in making them accountable. Two, transparency. I believe firmly that a police officer driving around with a thing should have a body camera going on at all times, and that video should be available. Maybe not for the public, okay, but there should be citizens who can be trusted, from the community. Maybe the faith leadership people, community activists, people who are like, look, we're not going to go dox a witness or something like that showed up on a video, or maybe you're going to blur it out so you can't see who or what they said. But I think that cop watchers should be able to go online and put in their police department thing and watch the video cameras live.
yeah. I agree.
Why they're on? We're paying for them. Why can't we watch them? I mean, what are they doing? And that's the thing is like, if everybody knows what's going on, then everybody's informed, and then everybody's watching out for what's happening. And
Yeah.
it's not just the cops. Like what they're looking for, and whether you want to help them or not, or help the bad guy because you're going, you know what, they're crazy. You guys shouldn't be bothering him.
Another reason why I think we should start over with policing in this country is the rate at which all crime is solved, right? There
Mm-hmm.
is hefty evidence and it's been affirmed several times, different ways, that only 2% of all crimes in the United States is solved by our current police.
Mm-hmm.
In any other business, if you're 2% efficient, you would be fired, right? In other words, if I'm at McDonald's and I'm only 2% efficient and I get out two burgers an hour, when in reality it should be, 50 burgers an hour. I mean, I'm going to be, out the door, right? And
Mm-hmm.
probably justifiably so. So if you're 2% as a police force, is that a win? Is that good? And to which I say, I think actual citizens have solved more crime than cops. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so
Well,
I mean,
they need to get out of the civil infraction stuff. Like okay, if your car is not safe, yeah, I mean, and you get in an accident, the thing. But like are you really making my life that much more safer because you're pulling this guy over and now dragging him out of the car because his windows are tinted a little too dark?
right, right, and that's another thing. They're not responsible for our safety either. And I think if
Mm-hmm.
they were responsible for our safety, maybe they would take our safety a little bit more serious. That so there's I mean, we've touched on a ton of stuff and they're pretty simple fixes if you think about it, right? I mean, I know they're systemic fixes, but they're things that could happen. But why doesn't it not happen? I am friends with Regan Benson, who does a lot of great work with the homeless. She has a 501c charity called Helping Hands for Dignity, and the cops are not concerned with anybody. They're
Mm-hmm.
concerned with, like you said, making money for the city, which in turn makes them money, right? It pays for their raises and their lawsuits that they create, and that's another thing that's wrong. Um, it- the unions are super strong with police, which I never really have problems with unions, but when you got a union that knows that the city is going to be responsible for any lawsuits that are brought forth, then what kind of system is that? I mean,
Hmm.
you hurt us, so now we have to pay the tab for you hurting us. It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous to have a system as such. When
And
the money,
I have no problem paying the cops more money because you know what? I'd rather pay them more money in salary and get better cops than pay more money in lawsuits because we got bad cops.
right?
So
Absolutely, one
you know,
hundred.
I mean, look at Loveland Police Department,
Yeah,
$3 million to Karen Garner.
right,
Okay, that paid for a lot of that would have paid for a lot of education and salaries of to get qualified people. But
right, right.
I'm at a loss. But and then again, but I also want to caution that I don't look at all like I don't like to use absolutes like and say well cops. It's
Right,
bad cops.
right.
It's just the bad cops that we're talking about. It's not
Yeah,
all
I
cops
happen to.
because some of them do care. Because I mean I can name I'll give a shout out to Dave Madonna in Prospect Park, chief of police. I knew him when he was in Upper Darby. He was a captain, and he's a great guy. I mean, like I'm not saying it as a bootlicker. He's a great guy, and I saw an article in the paper where one of his officers, when he became Prospect Park, small town, where the cops talked the guy out of suicide by cop, and people were like, oh, and I was like, I wasn't surprised because leadership starts at the top, and when you have somebody at the top who really really cares, you do see a difference in that community.
Yeah, yeah. Fab, I want to get back to comments. I've got a
Hmm.
few that I
Hmm.
want to get here before we kind of end the show, and then I'll leave it up to the chatters to maybe ask some more questions. But
Sure.
Fab Daddy's asking, can your videos be narrated? In other words, can we get a version of the Constitution that is narrated? Because people are really digging it, moms. Can we get a narrated version?
You want me to do it now?
Well, well, I mean, feel free. I mean,
Okay, here we go.
here we go.
Preamble. We the powerful of this police state in America, supported by the most powerful union, look out for just us, ensure domestic instability, use qualified immunity as a defense, provoke poor people on welfare, and deny the people their liberty, which belongs only to ourselves and not our citizenry, to whom we shall show disdain and establish this Constitution of the bad cops in America. Article 1. All power are vested in we alone. Article 2, Section 1. Have someone reread Article 1 for you. We recognize you may be a little slow to comprehend things. Article 3, Section 1. All power includes being judge, jury, and executioner. If you took the here to figure that out, you automatically qualify and will be promoted to a leadership position. Article 4. No credibility is required as to the facts or logic. If you think it, it is now law of the land. Article 5. This document can be amended at will, on the fly, to suit your specific needs. Article 6. 1. Our mission is to drive the average citizen into debt by enforcing our feelings. 2. Our Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Qualified immunity assures us this. 3. All members shall be bound by an oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. Article 6 continued. However, no test of intelligence, logic, or morality shall ever be required as a qualification to join our Blue Line Gang. Article 7. This document is ratified because we said it was. Any questions? Go back to Article 1 and read again slowly, as you obviously have what it takes to be one of us. The amendments to the Constitution, also known as the Bill of Wrongs. Amendment 1. Bad cops shall ignore, discourage, and punish all rights granted by that pesky document called the Constitution, especially as it relates to speech we find disrespectful to us, bad press if they're talking about us, assembly unless it's to shine our boots, or any attempt to redress the grievances that we caused them. Amendment 2. A military-like presence being necessarily required to maintain our tyrannical reign and power, the right to keep and bear arms belongs to us alone and exclusively. Amendment 3. We can enter any home at any time, for any reason, in any manner, and treat those inside with as much disdain as we alone and exclusively see fit. Amendment 4. The rights of the people to be secure in anything does not exist. All searches and seizures are hereby deemed reasonable. We don't need no stinking warrants. Amendment 5. People do not have to be guilty of an underlying crime to be arrested, charged, and put in a cage. Due process is redefined as the process is the punishment due. Anyone who believes they have a right to remain silent is to be intimidated, coerced, and convinced that it does not apply to them and severely punished accordingly. Article 7, or Article 6, Amendment 6. As judge, jury, and executioners, we assure speedy, just us solutions in private, away from the lens of cameras to the extent possible. Any witnesses with views not supporting our narrative are to be ignored, intimidated, or otherwise eliminated by any means necessary to protect our own, including, but not limited to, the use of torture and confinement. Amendment 7. Suits against us in common law are futile because of the doctrine of qualified immunity. Amendment 8. Excessive bail, excessive force, ridiculous charges, excessive fines, and the infliction of cruel and unusual punishment is mandatory, provided no one has a camera to expose you. Amendment 9. The enumeration of this in this Constitution of certain specified powers shall in no way be construed as a limitation on your ability to abuse, deny, or disparage imaginary rights of those pesky citizens believe they are entitled to. You are free to do what you want, where, how, and when you want, to whoever you want, without limitation. Amendment 10. As if Section 1 was not clear enough, all power, real, imagined, illegitimate, or otherwise, belongs to us alone, and we alone are free to abuse said power as we exclusively see fit.
Yeah,
There you
pretty fantastic, Moms. I don't think we could have ended this on a much better note than you taking the time to narrate the whole thing, which is an MLH channel exclusive. I don't think
go.
you've done that for anybody
Now
else.
this is the first time it's been read live on the internet.
Okay. Ellie is telling me to check my text. Uh, let's see.
So there was a question when he said, why did I write this?" So it came about as a gag when I first was thinking about it, just this is kind of witty and cool. But then once I started doing it, I took it to a step further and said, I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to keep it in the spirit of how the Constitution was written instead. So Section 1 talks about the legislative power. Section 2 talks about executive power. Article 3 talks about the formation of the courts. So it also has a little bit of learning to help people, get familiar with the Constitution, because that's a document that, while I've never had to officially swear an oath to, I'll do it here. I'm here to defend this document to the death.
Yeah, and that's the way we should all feel. I mean, a lot of times I think that document is an illusion as things stand now, but I understand. Michelle, I don't think I said hey to you, so what's up, Michelle? I want to read this. Ellie sent this to me via text, and she wants me to read it aloud. I don't think that's how you spell allowed. That's the other allowed, Ellie. I know I'm a grammar Nazi, but it says in early 2019, your Denver Police Department and the volunteers in police service at the Denver Police Department partnered to develop the Police Applicant Volunteer Experience. The program was designed to support the future hiring need of the department. Candidates are invited to join the program based on their police recruit testing scores. Candidates who take the written exam to be a police officer and miss the cutoff by less than 5 points are considered for the program. Wow. Once accepted into PAVE, the individual is required to volunteer 120 hours for the department. After that requirement is satisfied, the candidate can apply to be a Denver police recruit. Since its inception, the PAVE program has helped four individuals become Denver police officers. Officer Kay Knuth was the program's most recent success story, graduating last Friday with Basic Recruit Class 22-1. Officer Knuth joined the program in September of 2021 and completed his volunteer requirements in just 3 months. Please join us in congratulating Officer Knuth on his unwavering effort to serve our community. And if you are interested in learning about more about PAVE, email dpdrecruiting at denvergov.org. So I don't know, Ellie, do you want, I guess the point is um, officers here in Denver can miss by five, you have to miss it by 5 points in order to, you know, to be a police officer here in Denver, which makes sense because Denver is another one of the worst police departments in all of the United States. I have a hard time because I deal with both those police departments quite a bit. It's in my mind, it's almost equal of which one is worse. You know, instead of me thinking the opposite, which one is better, I always think of it in terms of which police department is worse. You know, so there you go. Uh, uh,
I'm gonna say that's Mesa.
yeah, Mesa is pretty bad too, man. But Aurora, I think, is right up there, and Denver not far behind. Um, what do you think about officers getting? He missed the cutoff by less than 5 points, and that's the standard that they got in order to be a police officer.
Well, if you're going to dumb down the requirements, you're going to get dumber people doing it. So,
Yeah, yeah. Yep. Okay. I think let's. Is there anything that you want to plug, Mom's Wholesome? Again, I want to thank you for being on the program today. It was a very informative and a very, I think, one of the most important panels that I've done in a long, long time. Is there any shout outs you want to give before we end the stream?
what I would like to say is to Jay Surreal's son, um, your dad was a hero, man. Don't pay any attention to what these trolls say on the
Yeah.
panels and stuff like that. You focus on his memory. He was a great man. I didn't know him personally, but I've had interactions with him because he liked to get arrested and the cops like to pick on him. And he was one of the few people that I did help a little bit. Not like I'm not trying to ride on his coattails or anything like that, but I did. I don't know if you guys saw the poem. I didn't put it on my channel, but a lot of people have it. The His name was Jay Surreal.
Yeah. Jay Surreal Camera.
No, but I mean, I wrote a poem. I don't know if you guys got to see that. Maybe I'll post that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Feel free.
I'll send. I'll put it so you can. Maybe you can put it on your link on your
Yeah.
community. A lot of
Absolutely.
people put it on their community pages for him. I got a lot of trolling from people, which it's horrible. The guy's dead. Whether you liked him or not. Uh, don't mess with his memory when with his kids.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shame that the trolls will go to that. I mean, a lot of us in the cop watching community think we have a hard time with trolls, but it goes beyond the pale when you're talking about somebody who passed away. I mean,
Hmm.
how disrespectful! Don't do that. You know.
Well, and I'll give some great advice for people who get trolled. All right, think of it like this way: The real estate between your ears is too valuable to let trolls turn it into a trailer park.
That's great, man. That's awesome. I noticed you have a really good wry sense of humor, especially when you write moms. But that's really fun.
No,
Okay,
keep your eye out for the book. Quotations from Chairman Wow, the Red Book. I'm the
that's great.
chairman. All
Awesome. Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, hold on. Let's
Oh,
before we leave,
uh,
let me see if there's anything else in here. Mesa's been bad for so many years. Bernie B says. Irish Rover says, "Thank you. Great show tonight." LA Spike, who just got in there, 100. Let's see what else. What am I missing? Okay. Again, I want to say thank you very much to Mom's Wholesome Videos. Look out for more. I'm sure you're going to be doing more and more content, moms, especially
mhm.
as your channel grows. And I have no doubt that this video will, take you into the stratosphere at some point. I know you said before we got on that it's not about clicks and views. I feel the same way. I've grown my channel organically, since its inception, and that's the way it really should be. It shouldn't be somebody picks you up and all of a sudden you have 5,000 subs. It should be you earned it, and I feel like I've done so, and I know you have with how many subs. We need your sub count up, by the way. I think we can do that. I take great pride in helping people, grow their channels, and I've done that with a lot of people, even people that have more subs than me, which like I said, I take great pride in.
Well,
But
I find it funny that I don't have that many subs. I just broke 300 maybe a month ago. Uh, I only had 37 videos. Most of them are goofy, and I'm almost over 2,000 watch hours. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome, man.
you know, what I mean,
It's mind
what
blowing.
I feel that I have a voice for people who typically don't. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of the guys who do who, the boots on the ground guys don't have the command of the English language that I do, and I think that I can read like this document here is something that like when people they'll look at it and but it's not what I mean. It's not that critical of them because it's all supported by stuff you can see, and I really don't have an axe to grind with
Right.
any particular police officer or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it takes
Well,
away that oh, you're just a drug addict, junkie, worried about the cops. Well, I've had my problems with drugs as a youth. I don't
yeah.
do drugs.
Yeah. Just come to Denver. You might meet some very fine officers that would be happy to change your mind on that.
Well, I know that my job is possibly going away in February, so come February, I might have a lot more free time to do a lot more
Yeah.
writing and video type stuff. So who
Yeah.
knows?
There you go. All right, Mom's Wholesome Videos. Make sure you subscribe, everybody. And if you're watching this video after the live, like I said, feel free to subscribe and look for more from Mom's Wholesome Videos. I think it was a very productive, good conversation, and I do appreciate your time. Mom's Wholesome Videos, everybody.
Yeah, and I just want to thank, like in closing, my last comment is going to be Ellie. I can't thank you enough for the support you show me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and I want to thank everybody in chat: Michelle, Ellie, Blue Unicorn, Fab Daddy, Ed Hen, Diesel. Who else? Oh boy, man. L.A. Spike. Thank you so much. Irish Rover in Florida. Bernie B was in the house today. Let's see. Did I miss any? I probably missed 50 million people. King Solomon. Thank you. Trinity Trails Ninja. Um, who else did we have in here? I'd like to get everybody. I don't like to go through and not give everybody credit here. I think that's about it. If I'm looking, oh, Broken System, Broken Trust was in here. Of course, I said Michelle. Diesel. Let's see. Was George Daly in here? Yep, George Daly was in here. Thank you for coming, my friend. And Ms. Libby was in here. Thank you very much. Ellie, as always, thank you for your help. You are one of the best mods on the planet, if not the best. Rochelle, thank you so much for being here. And most importantly, thank you, Mom's Wholesome Videos, for joining the chat and giving us all. I Am Happy was in here. Thank you so much. Matthew King, I got a video that I'll be doing for Matthew King in the near future. Big in Bean was in here. Everybody, thank you so much for being in here. And most importantly, thanks, Moms, Wholesome Videos. I wish you nothing but success in the future. And everybody out there, stay safe. If you're having trouble with your mental health, make sure you reach out to somebody that you know, love, and trust. In lieu of that, my email is mexicanlonghair@gmail.com. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a counselor, but I do listen, and sometimes that's all that matters. But if I don't get back to you in a timely fashion and you're having a crisis, just remember somebody out there thinks you're their favorite. There is a national hotline that you can dial, 988, and that will get you to a professional that can help you over the phone. If you're uncomfortable with talking, you can text that number. You can also text healthfulchat.org. Somebody will be there to help you. So, anyways, that's about all I got for you guys out there. Like I said, stay safe, and be kind to others, be kind to your family, but most importantly, be kind to yourself. I'll see you guys on the next one. Later, everybody. Appreciate you all joining in. Thank you so much. Later.